This podcast is brought to you by Primary Arms. Primary Arms seeks to provide the best shopping experience for everything firearms. With over 13,000 products from over 400 top brands, Primary Arms carries a complete selection of rifles, handguns, firearms parts, shooting gear, apparel, and more. Every order comes with a commitment to superior service, backed by fast shipping and an expert support team. Primary Arms, serving freedom since 2008. Find out more at frn.deals/PA. Welcome to the AR-15 podcast. This show is for you if you just bought your first rifle or if you've been building them for years. There is something we can all do to take our black rifles to the next level. My name is Nick Dooley, and I am joined as always by my co-host, Tyler Brockle.
Hello, everybody.
We are missing Garth this week. He might jump in later. He, again, has that farming addiction that caught him.
Jobs.
And, being in the field where you don't have cell service apparently is counterproductive to having the capability to jump on and record a podcast. We've done podcasts from the tractor cab before, but it doesn't always work in the right areas. So we also have a very special guest tonight. Tonight we are joined with Aaron from Cobalt Kinetics.
Hey guys.
How's it going? Yep. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Apologize, it's a day late.
Oh, hey, you're good. We're flexible.
Those things happen. And as far as being flexible and things happening, that's one of those things I think everyone gets, especially with if you can't be a little bit flexible about what's going on, because the world is such a normal place right now.
Yeah.
And nothing out of the ordinary ever happens. So,
dynamic is the new normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is the best way to put that I think I've heard. But so have you guys done anything kind of neat this week or?
For me, not so much. We have Brownell's Gun Con and put on by the Gun Collective coming up on June 24th and 25th. So we'll be attending that. And then, of course, right before that, I got my 2-week annual training for the Guard. So I've spent my last week packing up all the show booth and getting ready for the live fire demo. And in addition to packing up all my gear and stuff to be in the field for 2 weeks. So my truck right now is just packed, bed, front, back, you name it, half with show supplies, half with military gear. So I kind of been gearing up for that all week and haven't really got out and shoot. How about yourself, Aaron?
Oh man, I haven't shot at all this week. Been on the road. I got back 2.5 hours later than we were supposed to jump on last night. So it was,
where'd you go?
Late. I was in Arizona, Tucson and Phoenix, visiting dealers and visiting Voltor, doing a couple things down there with them.
No, very cool.
Right on.
Yeah.
You see, Tyler, this is why you need a shooting trailer.
Yeah, right. Hey, I'm all on board with it, man. But you're like the friend with the boat, except it's a shooting trailer.
Aaron, a couple weeks ago, I purchased a trailer just to use for the range, for teaching classes and everything like that. Just pretty much a target trailer to load up with everything you need for teaching classes or doing an extended range trip.
Right on.
Instead of loading everything in and out of the back of a pickup or something like that, you just hook it onto the trailer and go.
Nice. I keep wanting to get like a Class A RV and load that out with everything. But I also don't want to drive it, so I'd need a driver as well.
Yeah, that is fair. I've done about every iteration except for the trailer so far. I haven't quite bought an RV to teach classes out of, but it's crossed my mind.
It would be dope though, huh?
It's funny. We talked about that 3 hours ago too, while I was driving down to Des Moines. So,
yeah, but no, I was just gonna say that is 100% the reason why one needs to build target trailers, because it just makes sense. But
what about yourself? Aside from the Target trailer shopping, you do anything
I
with your
have
guns this week?
I have done nothing. I worked and
Live
before
vicariously through us.
live vicariously through everyone else. I did not do a lot of anything other than work and things of that nature. Nothing cool. I don't think I don't even think I bought any ammo. Like just
Oh,
100%. Like didn't do anything.
huh.
Week's not over yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't worry. We've probably done enough for both of you. We've both done enough for you. So,
Oh, no, wait, I take that back. I definitely did buy ammo. I forgot. We put in a bulk order. That just had never mind. We definitely bought ammo.
good. We want your wife good and ripped from carrying all that shit inside the garage when you get back.
Oh, she like my postman's gonna be pissed about this order.
I'm surprised they haven't just told you to come pick it up.
You know that'll happen eventually, I'm sure. But like I have ordered full pallets of ammo before, and they delivered them to my house.
Really?
Yeah, and it's funny because you'd think ordering a pallet of ammo, they would be like, "Oh, you're gonna need a forklift."
Yep.
Nope, they just shipped it out in a whole bunch of boxes,
Yeah.
and it was like just 10 boxes of cases of 12 gauge because I ordered a pallet of 12 gauge years ago.
Yeah. Adapt,
And
overcome, improvise. Boom. Well, right on. Well, let's get into Aaron and Cobalt Kinetics. I had the pleasure of being introduced to Aaron through our friends over at the We Like Shooting podcast, and actually got to spend a day with them down at the Primary Arms Range Day a couple weeks ago, just before the NRA show, and we actually got to take a look at some of the rifles. Definitely got to shoot them, which was phenomenal. But Aaron, why don't you just kind of kick us off by telling us about yourself and Cobalt Kinetics?
I mean, I look at myself as like the least interesting person out there. I'm sitting in here thinking like, what did I do this week? And I actually did buy, like I got a couple RC cars, like trucks for just the radio cars that, to hang out with my kids and do something outside of guns on the weekends. So I can thank Jake over at OSS Huxworks for doing that. So I don't know if I should thank him though yet, because it's quite expensive and I don't know what I'm doing. But I mean, literally, I'm just a nerd who likes guns, and previously was in pharmaceuticals for a number of years, since like 2011. Consulting and just working mostly on like the non-narcotic side of stuff, and just a delirious night of, well, in full like COVID delirium, I guess. Got an opportunity to buy Cobalt, and it happened. It happened super fast. Then 2 years later, we just got to the point where super confident in the rifle and how it's going out, how it performs. It's been a lot of testing, a lot of looking at the platform as a whole and saying, what, I don't want to be like everyone else. I don't want to just, put a standard AR together, because, and quite frankly, everything's the same these days. And, when someone can buy any rifle on the shelf and, swapping one or two parts, it's performing just like any other, that there's no room for me. And so we looked at it, and, there are things that I wanted to do, things that I thought were unique enough, but provided enough value, and really focused on the performance and the reliability. we had a brand that had kind of a rocky past that I didn't find out till after the purchase. But so there's a little bit of that in redefining who we are, what we do. But the rifles of Cobalt 1.0 shot differently. They looked differently. They looked wildly different. But like when you shot one, it felt different, and you could it took 1 or 2 rounds and you're like, okay, there's something different here. And that's what it was for me. There's a different feeling. I didn't like not necessarily the aesthetics or the lack of options on things, but I liked the way it felt. And I said, if we can make this reliable and make it in every shape and size out there, then we might have something really cool. And so, yeah, 2 years later, here we are. And, we came out with a little hashtag sticker at NRA. It just said hashtag not hype. And that's really what we're it's kind of a bold statement right now, but we're out there willing to prove it anywhere we go. And we want people to test us on it. We want people to come shoot our guns and see that it's not hype, but it is different.
Well, I remember, like you said, the Cobalt 1.0. I remember, following all the brands and everything like that. Like, what was it? The Banff,
Mm-hmm.
the Banff rifle, and then there was that the one that had the automatic magazine eject?
No, so the Banff was kind of the general AR model, and then there were several kind of iterations of that with like the Edge and the Recon series and a couple other things, and maybe they set them. I don't know. The one you're talking about was the Cars gun.
Yeah,
and it was Cobalt automatic something system.
That was when I remembered seeing it, and at the time I kind of did this seems like a solution in search of a problem. And like I'm not, it's not trying to talk down on it was an amazing feat of engineering, but on the same token it was okay, this is a great gamer gun because it just automatically shoots that magazine out when it was empty, and bolt lock to the rear, magazine dropped out, you put a new one in, all right. It was like, wow, that's really cool. But in looking at your guys' website now, like you have changed what it is that you guys are looking at and what you're planning on doing. You went from like space guns to real firearms that are reliable.
Yeah.
And one of the things that like really caught my eye, right? Because you first off, great looking guns, right? They kind of got, you can just look at them until they have their own unique features and design. Oh yeah, really cool.
Yeah, not that one.
But yeah, like looking at the professional series right here. But when you start scrolling down, you start reading some of the pro model comes standard with the following. You got Geisley 2-stage triggers, Radian Raptor charging handles, and a lot of like really high-end stuff that most people normally put in their rifle anyway when they start upgrading it. So you've already got this really good name brand, high quality modifications to these rifles that come standard, which I think was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and you look at that price point on the screen there, the $2,450, and some people are like, man, that's a lot of money. Why? And if you take any of the bigger brands, the more well-known brands, you look at a like $1,700, $1,800, $1,900 rifle, like a Daniel Defense, I think they call it a professional, is like their pro series or something like that. Like you buy that and then add a trigger, you add a Radian charging handle. Like you're already over that price point. And that's not including like a Voltor buffer tube and a A5 system, and even down to the little things like our castle nuts. We use Forward Controls designs. end plate, and stock and grip. If it's a stock, it's running a Bravo, B5 Bravo, and a B5 P grip. And but then you got ambidextrous safety. That's actually ours. We designed that based off of my short but really fat hands. Because everything out there, it would just drive right into my knuckle, and so I didn't want that, but I still wanted the the same, to be able to use it on the non-dominant side. And so it's the shapes of it and the way that the dimensions are allows you to have that freedom, but still that control. Ambi mag release. We try to pack it in as much as possible. I justify to people, if you take all the retail pricing of the components of the gun, it could be over $2,800. And but because of the way that we purchase product and the way that we put it out there, the 2450 we feel like is a value for the customer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and you guys are getting it in bulk. The quality control comes with it too, because the second somebody gets a rifle and then they start modifying it themselves, for the most part, if you're buying quality parts, right, like you're okay. But you as a company have gone through and vetted every single thing, tested every single thing, so that that all this stuff works together flawlessly. So another major benefit of actually, getting it.
In buying product, you hope that you're buying something that has the same QC as, that I'm capable of doing here, or that the manufacturer you're purchasing from is QCing their things just like you'd want them to. But we do it here. Every barrel that comes in, we're pin gauging, we're checking locations, we're making sure that what's there is what it should be. Every bolt carrier that goes out with our guns, and these are processes that we've learned too, because getting into this, I just assumed, if I'm going to a big parts manufacturer and they tell me that something's mil spec, that it is in fact mil spec, or that it is something. And you find that not everyone is how do I put this? It is defined on their terms as I'd want them to be. Not like mil spec type is not the same as necessarily mil spec, or the QCing is not always what it seems to be. So we've made mistakes on purchases. I've got probably 300 or 400 bolt carrier groups that I won't send out in a gun again because of what it did. And the product we have now and the product that goes out, we do take all of that testing. Like every BCG that goes into a gun has already been tested, and we test it, on full auto, and making sure that everything's run, because full auto kind of identifies problems faster than, single shots. And so we test everything there, and it's painstaking, taking down a rifle and, going out and testing 100, 200 BCGs in an afternoon with, throwing 3 rounds in a mag in it and making sure it locks back and gases appropriately. It's a lot. And our guys go through a lot, and we're in the middle of the desert too. So that sucks. But, we go through and make sure that everything that goes out is the same.
That's awesome. It's always good to know.
And I have some of our listeners are waiting for me to go off about the mil spec thing. Is we have a kind of a constant joke that we've gone through with what mil spec is. And so they have a mil spec for everything. And it's mil spec doesn't mean good. Mil spec means the minimum specifications that the military says this will work.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean it's the best. And I have often said, is everything that runs has an NSN. With the military, they use it. It has an NSN.
Mm-hmm.
So they have things for, beer. And I can pull it up right now. The NSN for beer is Coors Light. So anybody who wants to talk about how amazing Mil-Spec is, just remember that Mil-Spec beer is Coors Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, but mil-spec on a golf course is still fine.
Yes. and that's one of those where Mil-Spec on a golf course is kind of like, Mil-Spec for a non-duty, where you get into some of that stuff where it's finding the quality and getting things that are better.
Mm-hmm.
And because as someone who has been an end user of the Mil-Spec stuff for a long time, I can tell you a lot of times I've been like, yeah, I would not buy one of those rifles because
but you know what? It is a standard, and it's a starting point, and it's a good it's a good starting point based off of what we are used to, and what for the last however many years we've been getting stuff.
Having a standard is great because it is everything has to fit in this box.
Yeah.
Now what you do to refine it is where you go from there. And I think that's the part where you guys really shine, is by, we, like you were saying, how do you make this different? You didn't just put, a red anodized trigger and, parts kit in it that, oh, hey, look at us, we're flashy, we've got this now. You actually went through and found all of the things to look at and go, all right, now this makes sense. This makes a rifle better or more reliable. And then, like going through that parts list where you go, okay, I have all of these things now. That's a solid list, and all of the testing you've done. Because, I mean, I know I've done this where I've, had my builds at home, my homebrew ARs, because we've all built them over the time, and you go, oh yeah. And I remember when I first started building them, I got on, looking at ARFCOM or, something like that, and you're going through and you're like, all right, that's the best one. You want this, and you go through and you kind of start cherry picking what everybody says is the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put them all together and find out they don't work.
Yep. Happens a lot.
Because I want this bolt carrier with this bolt, and I do all these things, and then you go, oh, none of these things work well together, because this is how you fix the Mil-Spec rifle in this way, and you guys have already done all that homework to get the reliability out of them. You've chosen all the best parts.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's some things that are what this is in my learning, everything I talk about is, my opinion based off of my experience and my learning. So there are some things that are absolutely critical, and that the critical point though is this is where we start based off of here. Now, materials, surface conversions, coatings, different things like that. Now we have a starting point. Now where can it take us, and what was not looked at or looked at less importantly? Like, I've got things going on right now that are super exciting to me, like really exciting. But I guarantee you, if I talked about them right now, or if I said something, people would be like, "Who gives a crap?" Like, why? But it's the end piece and how it works with everything else that, like, that's when you can talk about it. That's when you can start going down and saying, this is the why. And it's easier to go after at that point.
Very cool. So one of the things you mentioned or talked about earlier was the feel of the rifle when you shot it. Can you kind of describe what you meant by that, and what particular design features provide that certain feel that you were discussing earlier?
Yeah, so in the Cobalt 1 rifles, anytime you pick one up and you pull that charging handle back, you're gonna notice it's like super silky smooth and quiet. And you have people that have used like a JP silent capture buffer before. And it's quiet, it's got a linear movement and keeps things lined up, but it still has that like kunk on the I'm really good at noises, by the way, so
I can tell we should hire you as our sound guy.
Yeah. and something's different, but it's not it still feels a little bit off to me. So, in learning about the old Cobalt, what they did was they re-engineered how that buffer system was, and there was a polyurethane sleeve inside that helped with the noise. It also kept the tolerances tighter on the inside, and then they widened the spring so that a lot of times if you're hearing spring inside your gun, that happens all the time. I mean, it happens on every gun, but the why, it's not because it's next to aluminum as much as it's undersized. And so you get a snaking effect of that spring, and that's what you're hearing, and you're hearing that clank up against aluminum, where if it were the correct size, it might have a little bit of noise with it, but it's not going to snake as much. It would the buffer was made of Delrin, and that Delrin on that polyurethane mixed with how the tolerances were, and they used a Viton ball. Viton's a like rubber, but it's a high grade rubber in the bottom, and that was the dampening side of it. Like, you don't want it to impact it, but if it does, it's going to be different feeling than if it were inside the buffer itself. And so it was quiet, it was soft, it was smooth because of that. And it had a feature on the front that one of the original designs in, I believe, 1956 on the buffer, it had a bulbous cap that filled some of the void inside the back of the bolt carrier group. And so aligning those things to prevent vibration or the wobble effect that the two flat surfaces can have on one another. It was soft, but it didn't leave there were things about the softness that I didn't like either.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because I remember seeing that at Primary Arms Range Day. So basically what you were showing me with one of the features with the buffer was, instead of having a flat face like a traditional buffer where the back of the BCG contacts it, you essentially have a surface, a protruding cap or bulge that comes out of the buffer, and it kind of touches the BCG and preloads the spring, essentially, correct?
Yeah, so it fills the inside, the side walls, a little bit of that BCG, so that it's not a flat on flat. You're not getting this. It's like more captured.
Okay. Yeah.
But it excuse me, it also doesn't seat completely on the buffer as well. So the way that's designed is so that and it's a small amount, and this is one of those things where you start talking about it to people and they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
but
it made a lot of sense, especially when you brought it up. I was like, man, I can't believe I haven't seen that before. It
works like a domed piston in an engine.
Yeah, I'm not a car guy.
No, it's one of the ways. So like Wesco is a piston manufacturer, and they would do a same thing where they do a domed piston to get a more consistent burn. And how it worked was that with the pressures going down, domed pistons typically would produce a little bit more power because of that, because they had that positive lockup.
Gotcha.
And it's the same kind of concept. And
yeah.
But the BCG is actually making contact with the dome in this case.
Yeah.
I mean, if your piston's making contact with something, you got bigger problems.
Yes, but it's more the like how the physics play nice of like having that all go through and doming that piston to come through, where you have it's a ball and socket then, for the lack of a better term.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, so that when they come through, you have that notch or ball and socket for everything to link up and have that less chance for lateral movement.
Yeah.
And I totally get what you're saying about the spring and the rattle. I can tell with my normal ARs, but the worst ones are the military M4s and M16s. Like I would go to we go to the range, and you when you shoot those, I would really, really hear that twang and I don't know. Yeah. And again, this shit's probably been around for, I mean, we recently got new M4s, but our old M4s and other units, we've had M16s. I'm sure they've been around for decades. So maybe it has something to do with the wear. Maybe the military uses, stuff with a little bit more give, so it always works, but I can especially tell what you're saying with the chatter when I compared it to those rifles. So that's a very neat design feature.
Yeah, it's super consistent, and we get a little bit of a preload so that buffer, the cap of that buffer is not touching and banging into like a retaining pin. There's lots of benefits from it that, when the lugs disengage, it's not slapping into something or like contacting something that it's not already engaged with. It reduces, potential for carrier bounce, things like that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that little things can make the difference of.
Very cool.
That really is neat, and just talks about the amount of, like the forethought you guys are putting into the products.
Speaking of, forethought, one of the other neat things that they had there is you actually had a gun that you had tied behind a truck and drug for testing. And then they actually brought that to the range day to show that even though we've just abused the shit out of this thing, it still functions. Is that it right there?
That's it right here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, look at that thing. It's almost shiny.
Yeah, that's real battle worn.
Yeah.
No, sir.
How far did you guys drag it?
3.5 miles, and then threw it off of a 180-foot cliff. Well, the cliff isn't straight down, and so it did take me 4 throws to get it all the way over. But yeah, it's it was abused, but we have about 1,000 rounds through it right now. Post without any lube, cleaning, anything like that, and still shoots half-minute groups at 100. So
yeah, that's really cool. Kind of really speaks to your quality control and tolerances, and man, I thought it was cool marketing, right? Because when we were there, we had a bunch of people coming up, and I saw people specifically requesting to shoot that rifle.
Yeah, it probably speaks more to my impulsivity than anything else, but yeah, like we can call it forethought.
Hey, I love it. And the other part I love about it is, I was actually telling Tyler this earlier today when we were talking. I have not to that extreme, but I have thrown $1,000 plus handguns across ranges in the gravel.
Oh yeah.
I was teaching a class and had a gal who was there with her husband. I said, "Oh no, just seed it, and just don't be afraid of it. Just let this happen, let it work." She goes, "Well, you have to be nice to it." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "Because it's so expensive."
Yeah.
And I looked at the Glock in her hands and I went, and I pulled out at the time. It was, they'd just come out, and it wasn't, the model before, but my Beretta M9A3. And I was like, "This is a $1,200 pistol." She goes, "Okay." And I bounced it across the gravel, across the range, and then picked it up and shot it. She goes, "I can't believe you would do that." It's a tool.
Tool, use it.
I get it. We all want to have nice things, but
yeah. I was really close there. And a lot of people were like, "Man, like those are so expensive. Like why would you do that?" And I mean, for me, like I care that when the gun needs to go bang, it does. And so that's like a small price to pay to get some testing and to know whether it does or doesn't.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. And also, fun fact, the first gun I ever saw drug for a couple miles was a Beretta.
Oh, nice.
That was in Iraq. Sergeant Major got in a Humvee, and they kept Berettas on lanyards, military pistols on lanyards.
Popped out and landed away.
Popped out, and he shut the door to his Humvee, and he bounced along behind for about a mile or two driving down the gravel before somebody caught it.
Wow.
Did it still function?
It did. And then Sergeant Major got to carry around a rifle. They took his Beretta. But
bad day.
That was a long time ago.
I suppose they were still fairly new back then, eh? What?
I'm not that old. It was
I know, that was 80s.
It was only in 2003 when that happened.
Yeah. I know the ones we got. We just got the new M17s, but God, the ones we had were the frames were just so worn. It was time for those to go.
Oh, they're drugged behind cars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. They looked
Exactly.
like they were.
I have a picture I could show at some point. I know that we just went and scrolled way away from Cobalt to
Oh, yeah.
talk about Berettas, but my wife was shooting at the state outdoor match, and it was the year, like it was 6 months before they announced the winner of the new service pistol, and she pulled the trigger on a Beretta, and the slide broke in half and shot off the front of the pistol. Like the front half, like the front sight and everything went whoop and landed in the grass in front of her.
Oh, geez.
And they went, what'd you do? And then they walked up and realized that no, it broke in half.
Oh, wow.
Dadgum.
And then they announced they had the new pistols coming out. Everybody goes, why are we getting new pistols? Because they do this.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Understood. But yeah, so getting back to you
Yep.
guys. So another cool thing, just looking at your website here. So it looks like you allow custom building of rifles right on the website.
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah, we'll allow, like, we'll do some like custom Cerakotes that's done out of our custom shops called American Masterpiece. We've got some extremely talented Cerakoters. We'll do
That
one-offs
God's
of like
Blad right
stocks and stuff. Yeah, that was a Black Friday limited series. We did about 30 sets in different lengths, and they came in a box with some foam and stuff. So, but yeah, the American Masterpiece side is unique. It's a cool piece.
So, since we have this up and have this picture, and I can speak to it, so for anybody listening to the audio portion of this, it's a receiver set. It's handguard, upper and lower receiver. But is this the standard receiver set that you guys use?
It is, yeah.
So one neat thing to look at this is this doesn't have a barrel on it, so the handguard is not attached yet, but it has an extruded piece out of the front of the upper receiver, because we haven't talked about some of those things with other things that make them different. It looks like the barrel nut goes over the barrel, and then the threads would be on the outside of the nut, making it more of the bolt, and the receiver being the nut. And then the handguard mounts up into a secure spot, so it doesn't matter where the barrel nut is for your lockup. Your handguard is going to go into its designated spot and be matched up perfectly with your upper receiver.
Basically, that upper receiver is the handguard's bolting to the upper receiver. It's not bolting to the barrel nut that's bolted to the barrel. Correct?
Correct. Yeah, and that was one of the very first things. Is coming off a 2020 SHOT Show that I purchased Cobalt, and one of the biggest themes that I picked up when I was there was everyone's talking about the strength of handguards, and this such and such companies making such a strong handguard, and it's strong, and I thought it's the same thing. Like everyone's doing it off of, like, we're just putting like stronger band-aids or bigger band-aids on something, but it was like the question we're asking, or the problem we're trying to solve, is not actually solving what I felt was something that could be a benefit. And that was, the barrel and the handguard are slaved together on a standard M4 platform. Whatever happens to one happens to the other, because they're connected at the same point. And it's that same, end point, that same half-inch piece of, threading that's coming out, but that's also holding all the weight that, whatever you stack on the front of it, you got an explosion happening right there. And so I really wanted to focus, like, how could we make this actually different, or like that's actually better. And so I actually have a raw one right here. I can show more. So if you look down in here, there's a flat angle there. There's a flat shelf that the barrel extension sits on the shoulder there. That's important because we don't have any thread engagement, any thread run out on the same spot. So we don't have to lap it to make sure that it's seating on a flat surface and that it's going to be aligned properly. And then this jam nut, this jam nut's actually made of 7075 aluminum, the same exact material of the upper. And so when it goes in and it connects to, it's tightening itself on the receiver against the barrel. You don't have a steel piece where you've got competing materials.
So you're not going to have the galvanic corrosion.
Yeah, and then you've also got like expansion, contraction based off of temperature, based off of putting high round counts through the gun, and so you're not having any stresses going that would be offsetting each other. But the bigger thing is, so like here's the hand guard. So you got the hand guard in the upper, and then if you look right here on the actual upper, there's a timing piece right here, so that as this goes on, I mean it's not gonna go on this way, but it goes on one way, clicks in there. And then the screws, there's 8 screws around the handguard and receiver. They're not straight. And when you look at it, it's going to be too hard to see on the camera. When you look at it, they're not straight in and fully centered. So they're directional screws. And as you lock it down and as you tighten those screws, it actually sucks the handguard back into the receiver so that you get the exact fitment every time between the handguard and the upper. We don't have those fat mismatched Picatinny pieces here, so cross mounting optics is not a worry. If you've got something on the handguard, whether it be a laser or something else, you're not gonna take this off and put it back on and lose zero. But the bigger thing is that they're not slaved together. So no matter how much you cram, you do pull-ups on the end of this while someone's shooting, and it's not going to affect the barrel at all. And that's been a big thing. Another couple things that it allowed us to do. So like you can see here on this side, where like your port door dust cover rod sits, that actually goes inside here, and then there's a small screw where there's a set screw that holds that in place, and then it's trapped once the handguard goes over. So you're not going to lose your port door based off of losing a half-cent C-clip breaking at all.
Interesting.
Yep. So it's just a little bit of the extra thought of that handguard going on and where the attachment point is for that holding on. Like you said, you have that set screw and everything to hold on that port door for the ejection port, and the repeatable zero and stuff like that, where a lot of people are going to be like, oh, whatever, who cares about the, because there's people who not everyone runs a PEC 14 or something like that, or has the lasers, but the people who do, it is important to have that 100% lockup. The other thing about that is, so as a big marksmanship guy, I've told people before, like, slings are very important. And I've told people that I was going to cut theirs off because they were using it so much so that you could watch them torque the barrel, especially on like an older A2 style rifle.
Mm-hmm.
But having that where you're putting all those pressures down, and that is a true free floated barrel. That's why you said it will not have any effect.
Yeah, it's definitely more free float than, you still got the gas block that's there, and can touch on the bolt carrier group and stuff, but it's a gas gun. There are some compromises that for right now we can't get around, but it's absolutely extremely free float. The barrel itself is extremely rigid, so you grab the handguard and start to yank on the barrel, it's not going anywhere, and you're not going to get that barrel flex. So follow-up shots are faster. Barricading, if you barricade hard on something, or if you're down prone shooting something and you're loading that bipod a lot, you want to shoot a longer shot, you don't have to worry about the barrel having an effect based off of what kind of load you're putting on the rifle.
Yep. And then when you're talking about longer shots, is that where your guys' SPR series comes in?
Oh yeah, and that's a super exciting piece of what we're doing.
So I saw that pop up, and the SPR series, has going through here looks to be more of the special purpose, or well, that's exactly what it's called, special purpose rifle.
Yeah.
And for doing the a accurate rifle.
What type of MOA are you holding on the SPR rifles?
We guarantee sub MOA on all of our rifles, and that's because of the confidence we have in the platform itself. The 6 ARC is kind of the new girl in school, and yeah, and so spent a lot of time shooting that over the last year. And we have a 22-inch. I'm prototyping a barrel right now. We've been working on with Proof Research. It's a 22-inch stainless barrel that just, the balance of it's a big barrel. It's Gas Journal's a 936, but the barrel itself is 1 inch up into that point, and 936 all the way out to the thread. So it's a big. It's a well-weighted rifle, but it's not unwielding. So it's not crazy, but the ability to stay behind glass on follow-up shots. Like I've never had a rifle that I've been able to shoot, whether it be on a tripod or down on a bipod, where I've been able to stay on glass and watch my round itself. So and see the impacts, and I'm able to do it with this because it's so soft. And so a lot of precision rifles, you see people shooting 3-shot groups and they're able to maintain, but if you really want to test things out, the standard's typically 5-shot groups. And so you see flyers out of that, and we'll do strings of 10-15 rounds that just maintain that sub MOA. Some of the rifles we put out have will maintain like 0.3 MOA, and it's just really exciting to get behind those things.
Wow, I bet.
Well, accurate rifles are interesting.
Yes.
And you know what else is interesting?
Hit me.
The unique features of AR grips from VZ Grips. Machined from a solid block of G10. G10 is great because it's durable and doesn't get slippery when covered with mud, blood, or sweat. The 17-degree grip angle and wide variety of textures from mild to extreme, and color options available. Shorties also available. They also have 1911 grips, which feature extreme customization for standard slim palm swells, thumb notches, safety cuts, bottom profiles, and etc. More than 25 textures and 27 colors available, along with grips for my beloved Berettas and some CZs as well. The coupon is good for 15% off all handgun grips and rifle grips, and that coupon code is AR-15 podcast.
I actually did get a chance to see them at the NRA show, and man, those are some pretty extreme grips. Like when you say, not to be cliche, but they're grippy. They are grippy. Wow.
They were near your booth, huh?
Yeah, they were down a few. Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize they got a huge selection of colors. It was pretty neat. So if you're really into, not only is the functionality there, but if you're really into customization, definitely the varying colors and just designing grips, pretty neat. Kind of helps add a one-off.
And that's a guy who knows his product too, John. Like when it comes to G10, he knows his stuff, and he makes some pretty incredible grips. I love the fact that they're like as grippy, and like, in my opinion, on a pistol grip, if you're not bleeding after shooting a lot, like, then you need more grip. So like, I love VZ grips.
Yeah, they are super solid. I love them as well. I've got some sets at home waiting for, even though I don't shoot them near as much anymore since I made the switch to SIGs, still have some sets for my Berettas. Because yes, I still own more than one of those old girls.
Nice.
So what about go ahead, Dooley. Go ahead.
Well, it's like having an old Italian sports car. They're pretty to look at, but a pain to work on.
I don't know. I've never had the privilege of being able to afford an old Italian sports car.
Well, neither have I, but I've worked on a Moto Guzzi motorcycle, and I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, close enough.
So, yeah,
How was NRA for you guys, Aaron? What'd you think?
It was awesome. Range day was a unique experience. Obviously, you were right there with us, and it was good to see the steady progression of show after show, demo after demo, the differences in why people are coming up to the booth. And so the word is getting out there, and people are starting to see, yes, Cobalt's different now. And now the fact that we've started pushing more onto the LE side because of the confidence we have in what we're doing. It's been a really unique transition and growth. The show was great too, having a lot of people come by and see the stuff. I probably want to be in a, it's like we were at one of the far ends.
Yep.
And so, it was nice that we didn't have a ton of noise on the other side of our wall. But at the same time, it was, we'll probably be in a different spot next time.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, the good news was, I came by like 2 or 3 times to say hi to you guys, and there are so many freaking customers in your booth. I'm like, no, I'll come back when they're less busy. And there was never a less busy time when I came back. So apologize I didn't make it, but I figured you guys were selling shit, so I'd just stay out of your way.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was there was a lot going on, and it didn't hurt that our friends at Microtech were right next to us, and they always draw a crowd. So
right on. Yeah, there's always for those people who who haven't gone to these trade shows before, like NRA, SHOT Show, OTOA, Range and Retailer Show. It's always like a freaking strategy on where you're choosing to put your booth, and you got to look at where you're at, where's the food, where's the bathrooms, who are you next to. It's kind of a little game to try and get the best spot that you can.
Absolutely.
Well, and with the NRA, it's difficult because it moves every year.
Yeah, that too. You think you got it down. Like with SHOT Show, you know the sands, it's going to be there, what to expect. And yeah, I mean, this was my first SHOT Shows, but for me, since we're Trigger Interactive's a newer company, this is kind of the every show is a first for me for the most part, because I've really only been to SHOT Show consistently.
Yep, and these shows are very unique just because you see so many people get to come and look at it and get excited about things.
Oh
and
yeah,
I'm glad that the show went great for both of you. And I know that I wished I could be there, but unfortunately,
yeah, a few more months and you'll be free.
Something like that.
Yeah.
More road time with the trailer.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's what'll happen. I'm sure that thing will rack up plenty of miles when I get back, just because between classes I need to take and classes I'll be teaching, I'll be putting on plenty of miles. But
so, Aaron, is there anything else that you kind of want to like anything up and coming for Cobalt that you want to discuss at all, or any last?
We enjoy meeting and talking to customers, potential customers, and tons of ARs out there. And at first glance, our rifles might not give someone the urge or the thought that they should have in wanting to shoot it. And so we're going to be spending a lot of time on the road over the next foreseeable future, setting up demos in as many locations as we can, and we want to let as many people as want to come out and shoot our ammo and shoot our guns to do so. So yeah, we'll be setting those
amazing.
up. Yeah, we'll be setting those up all over the country. The best thing
next
to do
one's
is
going to be. Do you want to?
I know. In short, no. I don't yet. But
I mean, I figured there was a list, but I just didn't figure I'd give you the opportunity just in case.
Yeah, we've got stuff coming up in Georgia, Texas. The one I know, Texas Ordnance Depot, does an event in July, and I know we'll be out there. We'll probably use that opportunity to have Texas a big space. So there'll probably be a few areas in the state of Texas over in July that we'll be at. Georgia will be there, probably September timeframe. I know we'll be doing stuff in Arizona in the end of July, beginning of August, possibly end of June. And we'll probably have multiple going on at the same time as well. Just have a bunch of us out doing stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the best thing to do is follow us on Instagram, because that's the most, as limiting as it is, it's still the most free, flowing bit of information we can put out. So that's the best thing to do.
Perfect. Where can they find you at online? I know you just said Instagram.
On Instagram, it's at Cobalt Kinetics, all one word. Online, cobaltkinetics.com. You can reach out, call us anytime. We don't always answer the phone, but we always return the phone calls if you leave a message. But anytime someone wants to reach out on Instagram, we follow up on those. My personal page is just aaron.cobalt. So, anyone can come over on there and reach out, ask questions, email me, aaron@Cobalt Kinetics. So I spend like a couple hours a night following up on emails on my personal email, as well as the company's sales at Cobalt Kinetics page. So, any way you can reach out to us, do so. Our phone number's on the website. We enjoy talking to people.
Very cool.
That is awesome. And so obviously everybody heard where to find them. There's one other group they should probably try and find, and that's Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co. They have their final assortment of patches for morale patches. They have their, what I call mouse pads, but everyone else calls cleaning mats. They might be the best mouse pads ever. If you needed an exploded view of an AR or even one of those blasphemous commie rifles, they have those as well as 1911s. And they work amazing to help when you're working on and just need a visual representation if you're cleaning something and make sure that you put it back together right. Or if you just like engineering artwork like I do. Check them out for all your morale patch needs. That's Patriot Patch, patriotpatch.co. Tyler, you got anything to add before we hang it up for the night?
Man, I'm thanks, Aaron, for coming on. I know you said there's a lot of ARs out there, but I love companies like yours who got the really unique design aspects, because it definitely gives us a job. So appreciate that, to be able to bring guys like you on and hear about the cool stuff that you're doing. Just thanks again, and I hope to keep running into you at more shows as we go to them.
I think you need to join us on some of our road shows, because those targets are a hit. It's one thing just to like shoot at steel or whatever, or into a berm and feel something, but when you have like an actual like goal or something to do, and that your system's easy enough to where like there's a game that can be attached to it, and you might be only running 4 or 5 rounds through a rifle, but if you've got something there to like give you a task, it makes it better. The experience is better.
Purpose. Yeah, an experience. That's a good way to say it too. Yeah, I'd be down for that. Hit me up after this.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yep, and I want to say thanks again, obviously, for coming on. Just me on a personal note, so you said like you're a nerd who's into guns. I mean, let's be real here. Everyone that you've heard tonight on this is a nerd that's into guns, and so like I am just a giant gun nerd. Like this week, I didn't go into like a 20-minute rant on how 40 Smith & Wesson came up to be, but that was
narrowly avoided that.
Yeah, but it's important for like, this is a company that's gun guys making guns for gun guys, and it's, if you look at this, it's instead of just seeing a price tag, Oh, I see all of the value in this. Like, this is a solid value because it has, all these great things. Like, I know that in looking at the SPRs, I saw Roscoe barrels, and then you're talking about proof, and those are all top of the line components.
Mhm.
So when you do the testing to go through and make sure that everything works, and it's a top of the line rifle, and that is what I think is the most important thing.
100%.
So, and with that, so obviously go out, everyone, find Cobalt Kinetics online, check them out on Instagram. You can find them online, give them an email, give them a call, check into their custom rifles, see what they can do for their custom shop for you. Find us at AR-15 Podcast 2.0 on Instagram, AR-15 Podcast 2.0 on the YouTubes, AR-15 Podcast on Facebook, and AR-15 Podcast on all of the podcatcher apps. So with that, you folks out there, stay safe and stay armed.